Welcome to the Everything Podcast, and this episode I'll be recapping the Fugitive Doctor, Dead or Alive, flying solo, rather, which was originally released on the 17th of July 2025, and I'm recording this episode just under a week later on the 23rd of July 2025. Before I get on with my recap, here is the trailer for the Fugitive Doctor, Dead or Alive.
From Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, The Fugitive Doctor, Dead or Alive.
I am the Doctor.
I am invoking the Blue Box Protocol. Over.
I'm a traveller through time and space.
It's not an ordinary cloud. It's glowing.
And I'm going to get you home.
Hello? Is that Pilot Officer Mahinder Singh Johal?
Where am I? When am I?
I wanted an adventure. I wanted to fly.
It means that he could be anywhere in time and space, in a plane full of TARDIS energy.
What is this? This voice from beyond. Are you some kind of oracle of the gods?
You abandoned me!
Can't be. Sedalis?
You're saying you've finally come to rescue me?
Consider this the end of the line.
They will never stop coming for us!
Kill them!
This is a time traveler's graveyard.
Division knows everything.
Congratulations! This time you're going to kill us both!
Division is the law!
I've been feeling it for a while now. A foreboding, a psychic deterrent, tangled in our web. Like a strangeness, a darkness. There is an emptiness inside you. Something ancient is stirring. Surely you have no wish to run forever.
Time's up, Doctor.
Big Finish, for the love of stories.
That was the trailer for the Fugitive Doctor, Dead or Alive. I think I showed you that because in this episode I'm recapping the Fugitive Doctor, Dead or Alive, flying solo. Before I get on with my recap, please go and check out the Fugitive Doctor playlist already on the channel, which includes my recap of the final story of the last Fugitive Doctor box set titled Most Wanted, with my recap of the Dimension of Lost Things. Please go and check that out if you haven't already. But without further ado, because it's going to be a longer episode, as all the Big Finish ones tend to be, here is my recap of the Fugitive Doctor, Dead or Alive, flying solo. We start off with the Fugitive Doctor theme tune. A pilot is told to stand at ease. This pilot is accused of something. This pilot attempts to defend himself. This pilot mentions the Air Force, the King, and the Army. This pilot requotes the person telling him off. The person telling pilot Johal off mentions Russia. Cosmo warns the Doctor. The Doctor mentions klaxons and sirens. The Doctor talks to herself. The Doctor mentions tag and dodgeball. The Doctor notices Cosmo is in possession of a time destructor. Cosmo mentions division and the condition of the Doctor's TARDIS. The Doctor is able to escape from Cosmo. Pilot Johal mentions the Blitz. Pilot Reeves mentions Brighton and proposing there. Pilot Reeves mentions Commander Douglas. The Doctor talks to her TARDIS about Cosmo. The Doctor's TARDIS is malfunctioning. The Doctor reveals she is currently in summer 1941. This time and place sounds familiar to the Doctor. Pilot Johal is made aware of something. Pilot Johal reports a glowing cloud. The Doctor notices that her TARDIS is currently being shot at by the RAF. The Doctor apologises to her TARDIS. The Doctor warns someone. The Doctor mentions Britain. Someone asks everyone to stand down whilst mentioning the Prime Minister and the Blue Box Protocol. No one knows where Pilot Johal is. The Doctor mentions Chronon energy and her TARDIS. The Doctor corrects the other pilots. The Doctor agrees to search for Pilot Johal. The Doctor can communicate with Pilot Johal. The Doctor mentions having issues with protocols. The Doctor mentions and refers to the Wizard of Oz. Pilot Johal reveals he has landed in Punjab. The Doctor mentions the past. The Doctor reveals Pilot Johal is currently in 327 BC. The Doctor reveals why Pilot Johal can't land. The Doctor attempts to reassure Pilot Johal. The Doctor introduces herself to Pilot Johal. Cosmo introduces herself to one of the pilots. This pilot and Cosmo discuss pilots. This pilot mentions Downing Street. Cosmo corrects this pilot. This pilot mentions Pilot Johal. Cosmo mentions Britain, the Prime Minister, and Nazis. This pilot alludes to the Doctor. This pilot passes on the Doctor's message to Cosmo. The Doctor exits the TARDIS. The Doctor corrects someone. The Doctor meets one of King Alexander the Great's soldiers. The Doctor lies to the soldier. The Doctor asks to be taken to Alexander the Great. The Doctor meets Alexander the Great. The Doctor is forced to bow to Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great mentions Greek and Zeus. The Doctor questions Alexander the Great. The Doctor lies to Alexander the Great. The Doctor gives Alexander the Great a prophecy. Alexander the Great mentions his dreams. The Doctor mentions empires. The Doctor asks Alexander the Great to stop. Alexander the Great refuses to do this. The Doctor mentions Aristotle. Pilot Johal mentions India and his reasons for joining the RAF. The Doctor informs Pilot Johal her reasons for travelling through time and space. Pilot Johal mentions England. The Doctor mentions the sun. The Doctor speaks some Punjabi. The Doctor and Pilot Johal update each other. The Doctor warns Pilot Johal of chronon storms. Cosmo introduces herself to Alexander the Great. Cosmo and Alexander the Great discuss the Doctor. Alexander the Great mentions India. Alexander the Great and one of his soldiers disagree. Pilot Johal reveals he just passed out. Pilot Johal mentions the Golden Temple. Pilot Johal believes he has to return to his hometown in his time. Pilot Johal mentions being homesick. The Doctor corrects Pilot Johal. The Doctor mentions history. Pilot Johal mentions reincarnation in 1919. Pilot Johal mentions a specific soldier and the British government. The Doctor mentions the Aransa massacre and some specific ships. The Doctor believes Pilot Johal is dying. The Doctor mentions time sickness. Pilot Johal mentions Commander Douglas in the Doctor's TARDIS. The Doctor pleads with Pilot Johal. Cosmo communicates with Pilot Johal. Cosmo informs Pilot Johal that he's currently in 1757. Cosmo mentions the Doctor. Cosmo agrees with the Doctor. Cosmo reveals her guess on how long Pilot Johal has left to live. Cosmo mentions reality. Pilot Johal mentions the Doctor. Cosmo insults the Doctor. Pilot Johal questions Cosmo. Cosmo apologises to Pilot Johal. Pilot Johal runs away from Cosmo. The Doctor attempts to regain contact with Pilot Johal. The Doctor notices several things about her new surroundings. The Doctor mentions India and the 18th century. The Doctor congratulates herself. The Doctor corrects someone. Someone mentions the Colonel. The Colonel comments on the Doctor's outfit. The Doctor mentions Ghana. The Doctor reveals the Colonel's full name. The Doctor introduces herself to the Colonel. The Doctor lies to the Colonel. The Colonel mentions Bengal. The Colonel compliments the Doctor. The Colonel sets the Doctor free. The Doctor mentions the Battle of Plassey. Pilot Johal mentions Cosmo and a specific date and why this date is so important. Cosmo mentions human history. Pilot Johal doesn't believe Cosmo. Cosmo believes Pilot Johal is about to be erased from existence. Pilot Johal seems to be annoying Cosmo. Cosmo attempts to get back in touch with the Doctor. Cosmo asks for the Doctor's help with Pilot Johal. The Doctor mentions Pilot Johal's plan. The Doctor and Cosmo communicate with each other. Cosmo mentions division and the time disruptor. Cosmo notices that the Doctor is lying to her. Cosmo tricked the Doctor. Cosmo agrees to let the Doctor help Pilot Johal in exchange for her control of the Doctor's TARDIS. The Doctor mentions chronon decay. Pilot Johal mentions 1770 and the Time Lords. The Doctor corrects Pilot Johal. The Doctor comes clean to Pilot Johal. Pilot Johal mentions 1857. The Doctor asks Cosmo to let Pilot Johal continue speaking. Pilot Johal mentions Shakespeare. The Doctor asks Pilot Johal to do something. The Doctor corrects Pilot Johal. Pilot Johal mentions gravity. Pilot Johal begs for the Doctor's help. The Doctor updates Cosmo. Cosmo helps the Doctor. Cosmo mentions 1941. Cosmo informs the Doctor how long she has to save Pilot Johal. The Doctor attempts to prove Cosmo wrong. The Doctor reveals her new plan. The Doctor executes this plan. Pilot Johal returns to 1947. Pilot Johal meets the Doctor. The Doctor checks in with Pilot Johal. The Doctor informs Pilot Johal that his current condition will only last a few hours. Pilot Johal apologises to the Doctor. The Doctor asks Pilot Johal to try and make things better. Pilot Johal mentions loneliness. The Doctor mentions friends. Pilot Johal mentions Cosmo. Pilot Johal blames himself for the Doctor's current situation. Cosmo says goodbye to Pilot Johal. The Doctor and Cosmo discuss the Doctor's TARDIS. Cosmo considers the Doctor her puppet. Pilot Johal saves the Doctor and her TARDIS from Cosmo's grasp. The Doctor compliments Pilot Johal. The Doctor mentions Division and Cosmo. The Doctor and Pilot Johal say goodbye to each other. The Doctor reunites with her TARDIS. The Doctor mentions Cosmo, and the Doctor pilots her TARDIS. And that is my recap of The Fugitive Doctor, Dead or Alive, Flying Solo. And don't worry, my recaps for the other two stories will be coming up in future episodes. So you've got those to look forward to. Speaking of future and past episodes, if you haven't already, please go and check out my recap of Superman, which, as I mentioned in that episode, I was able to do a lot sooner than I thought, as well with all the other episodes. And just as a reminder that there is now 2 episodes of the podcast every single day, with the first episode releasing at 11 a.m. GMT and the second episode releasing at 3 p.m. GMT. But back to this episode now. Let me know what you thought of The Fugitive Doctor, Dead or Alive, Flying Solo, if you listened to it. My recap, if you didn't, could be your thoughts on both of those in the comments below. As well as anything else you want to cover the channel, such as study previews or recaps, put those in the comments below as well. Remember, you can also like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in a future episode of the podcast. Goodbye.